All right, so it's obviously a beautiful day here on Oahu in Hawaii, but it's not always this pristine and perfect. So what do you do when the weather turns, right? Obviously, we have stormy seasons, which we're going to talk about today. What do you do in the case of a hurricane? What do you do in the case of power outages, right? How do you really prepare for disaster in Hawaii? This is super critical, especially if you've never been in a tropical climate before and you're used to mainland weather. It's a little bit different when we're surrounded by an entire body of water. So let's dive into the video today to help you prepare for disaster. All right, so first thing you're gonna need to do is be aware, right? So you're gonna make sure that you have enough communication set up. So you're paying attention to the news. You're not just scrolling when you notice a storm is coming in, but you actually have your ears perked up for what you might need to know about this storm as it comes in. So just like hurricanes in the south in Texas and Florida, we do have hurricanes here in Hawaii. One of the things that is special about Oahu is we're actually in the middle of the island chain. So we don't necessarily get the brunt of most of our storms. They usually hit the Big Island or Kauai, depending on what direction they come from. But there are some situations like Hurricane Iniki that hit Oahu straight on. So we need to be prepared for all situations. So this is just one of those things. If you're new to the islands, pay attention to the news, make sure you're following all of those news outlets on social media, and you're kind of tracking them as they come through. The last thing that you want is to be unprepared, and especially if you own a single family home, you didn't board your windows or something, or you didn't stock up on water and food supplies when you should have, really underestimating, what was happening with this specific storm. So awareness is number one, and just kind of thinking worst case scenario every now and then to be prepared, okay? Second thing I'm gonna talk about is gonna be what do you actually need to have in your home to prepare for a storm. So you're gonna need food, you're gonna need water, you're gonna need some way to prepare for this. And one of the things about being on an island is that should, shipments stop? What if the shipments can't come into port because of high waves and surge and all these things? How much supply do we have on island? Well, the scary thing is we only have about 2 weeks supply before we start to run out of food, meaning empty shelves in Walmart. Costco is cleared out. It gets a little bit freaky. So one of the things you can do as a homeowner and as someone who's living in the islands is to stock up on some food and water. So we recommend at least 1 gallon of water per person per day, and we want at least 14 days supply of water. That's 14 gallons per person in your home. That could be bottled water. Another safety tip is once we notice a storm is coming in, maybe we're just filling the bathtub with some potable water. But if we're gonna end up drinking that, we do wanna boil it before we consume it. Another thing is food supply. How much food do you actually need? You're gonna plan out 14 days of food per person, right? So making sure your pantry is stocked. And this doesn't have to mean an entire closet, really doom's prepper, but it could mean just a couple extra cases of Spam and another bag of rice on the side when you need that, okay? Let's talk about power. What happens if Hawaiian Electric is shut down and there's downed trees and power lines are out? What do you do? Well, in a condo, usually your building is gonna have a generator, so you don't really have to worry too much about that, but there could be prolonged hours without electric, so you're gonna wanna have some candles on stock, some flashlights ready to go with batteries, making sure we're checking those batteries that they're not corroded by the time that you need to use them. So checking them once a year, that's just a good habit. And then for those who have a single family home, and you're not on someone else's generator, I would recommend at least getting a little mini one that's $100 or $200. That can keep you going, right? So you need a little bit of gas on the side, and your little generator, and it doesn't hurt to even get little solar battery powered things to charge things like your cell phone, just to have tucked away in a closet in case of an emergency. Another thing is gonna be a hand crank radio. Why would you need that, right? It's 2024. Well, if we don't have Wi-Fi, we don't have cable TV, that radio is gonna come in handy should shit really hit the fan. So I think about Puerto Rico and I think about some of the other Caribbean places that have been knocked out for weeks and months on end. I hope Hawaii never has to experience that, but I would want to be prepared if we were ever put in a situation that dire, right? So really just awareness, not being naive that we're protected forever. We are thousands of miles from the closest civilization, so it's really important to just think in advance and plan for these kinds of things. Last 2 things I want to talk about is going to be your medical supplies and hygiene and toiletries. So we experienced the toilet paper outage just like everyone else did during the pandemic. So it's always good to just have an extra case, but we don't need to hoard a whole cart full of toilet paper, right? Save some for your neighbors, but just having an extra week or 2 of supply is a good call. And then same thing, if you are reliant on prescriptions and your meds that you need, right? It's good that we get at least an extra set of those, just in case for some reason you weren't able to have access and we don't want to put you in any kind of life-threatening situation. Again, hygiene needs, making sure you have a backup of just your essentials, but it's not like we're going on a tropical destination vacation. This is hunkering down survival mode, so you really just need the basics here. And definitely having your first aid kit stocked and ready to go at all times is also a good idea as well. Okay, so that wraps up this video of how to prepare for potential disaster in Hawaii. Critics are saying that the ocean is the warmest it's been in a really long time. In fact, it's warmer than it's been when Katrina hit New Orleans. And so we are preparing for a little bit of a crazier fall season with the hurricanes here in Hawaii. So I would just say know before we go, right? Do a little bit of pre-planning now. It just means a couple extra things at Costco next time you stop by. But again, we're not doomsday prepping. We're not filling a whole room of stuff. You just need a couple of things for a couple of weeks. And of course, if you're in a position where you have abundance, you can donate to shelters and help them in need. But really, it's just awareness and being a savvy resident here in Hawaii. So I will see you guys next week with another video.